All right, if you're a network engineer looking to level up your skills, then you are in exactly the right place. Today, we're doing a deep dive into Palo Alto's Prisma Access and Panorama. And the goal here is super simple. Get you prepped and confident for those tough technical interviews and, ready to hit the ground running in a real-world deployment. So let's just get right into it.
So, let me kick things off with a question, because this is a scenario you're absolutely going to face. You've got a company with, say, 10,000 employees. They're everywhere, working from home, coffee shops, airports, you name it. How in the world do you enforce a consistent, strong security policy for all of them? That right there, that is the core challenge of modern networking.
And the answer to that huge challenge is this concept called SASE, which stands for Secure Access Service Edge. Really, all it means is we're moving our security perimeter, our castle walls, out of the physical data center and into a big distributed cloud service. Now, when we're talking about SASE in the Palo Alto universe, we're really talking about one specific thing. And that one thing is Prisma Access. The easiest way to think about it is this. It's a full-blown Palo Alto next-gen firewall just delivered from the cloud. It's got all the cool features you already know, right? App ID, threat prevention, URL filtering, but it makes them available to any user, on any device, anywhere on the planet without having to ship them a single physical box. Okay, so you have this amazing security service in the cloud, but how do you manage it all? That's where Panorama comes into play. It's the command center, the single pane of glass for everything. And here is the most important part, so don't forget it. Prisma Access has to be managed by Panorama. There's no other way. This is what guarantees you have one consistent policy everywhere, from your on-prem firewalls to all your remote users. All right, so we've got the architecture down. Now let's get into the real meat and potatoes, the part of your daily job and definitely your interview that matters most, mastering policy. This is where you actually define what's allowed and what's not allowed on your network. First off, we've got to be crystal clear about the two main types of policies. A security policy, well, it's basically the bouncer. It answers the question, are you allowed in? Allow the marketing team to use Salesforce. Simple. A NAT policy, on the other hand, is the translator. Its job is to change IP addresses. For example, take my private IP, 10.10.10.5, and translate it to our public IP so I can get out to the internet. Two very different, but very important jobs. And this brings us to what I call the golden rule. Seriously, if you remember one thing from this whole explainer, make it this. It's a guaranteed interview question, and it's the source of probably 90% of all policy headaches. The firewall always does the NAT translation first. Then, and only then, does it look at the security policy and it evaluates that policy against the new translated packet. If you forget this, I promise you, you will spend hours pulling your hair out troubleshooting. So inside Panorama, we have two ways to handle policies so we don't go crazy. Think of shared policies as your global, company-wide rules, the big stuff, like block all peer-to-peer traffic, period, everywhere. Then you have device group policies, which are way more specific. These are the rules you only apply to certain firewalls or, in our case, to a Prisma Access setup for a specific group, like creating special access rules just for the engineering team. So let's actually walk through creating the most common policy there is, just basic internet access. So you'd go into Panorama, into your Prisma Access security policies. You'd add a new rule, you'll define your source, let's say it's your trust zone and your internal user subnet, and your destination is going to be the untrust zone. But here's the key. Instead of just typing in ports 80 and 443, you specify the application's web browsing and SSL. Set the action to allow, commit your change to save it in Panorama, and then you push it to Prisma Access to make it go live. Now, I just made a big deal about specifying the application, not the port. And that is all thanks to Palo Alto's secret sauce, App ID. This is the engine that makes the firewall truly next-gen. It honestly could not care less about port numbers. It's like a detective using a huge library of signatures and behaviors to figure out what the application really is, even if it's encrypted or trying to hide.
And this example right here just says it all. In the old days, if you wanted to block web stuff, you'd just block port 443. But that's totally useless now, because literally everything runs on port 443. With App ID, you can write a rule that says, yeah, allow general web browsing on port 443, but specifically block the Facebook application. You're controlling the app itself, which gives you this incredible granular level of control.
Okay, so knowing how to build policies is great, but let's be real. What happens when things break? Your real value as an engineer, where you really earn your paycheck, is being able to troubleshoot.
So let's look at some common problems and figure out how to solve them. The classic scenario, you get that ticket or maybe that frantic Slack message from a user. Hey, I can't get to this website. I know you have a rule for it, but it's just not working. This happens all day, every day. So what's your first move? Where do you even begin?
Your first move is always to check the traffic logs. The logs don't lie. They will tell you exactly which rule is being hit or exactly why traffic is getting dropped. From there, it's just a systematic process. Check your policy order. Remember, rules are read top-down, so a deny rule that's sitting above your allow rule is always going to win. Make sure your zones are right, and then you're going to use this lifesaver of a CLI command, test security policy match. You just feed it the source, destination, and protocol, and it tells you exactly which rule it would match. And of course, don't forget the golden rule, is NAT messing things up? But what if it's not a block? It's just slow. A user's complaining about slow VPN access. Here's your checklist. You're going to start at the core, on the firewall itself, check session stats. Then you move out to the user's machine. The Global Protect client logs have a ton of great info. Then you do your basics, right? Ping and traceroute to see where the latency is. And finally, you look at your own configs. Did you set up a QoS policy that's accidentally throttling them? Are you sending a user in Chicago to a data center in Singapore? All things you got to check.
All right, let's talk about the big one. The kind of project that gets you noticed, that gets you promoted. Migrating an entire company's security from on-prem firewalls over to Prisma Access. This is not something you can just wing. It takes careful planning to make sure you don't break the business.
So here's how the pros do it. You are not just going to copy and paste your old rules. No way. You start by exporting your old config and importing it into Palo Alto's Expedition tool. Think of this tool as your cleanup crew. It helps you get rid of old, duplicate rules and optimizes everything for the cloud. Then you stage those shiny new policies in Panorama, but you don't push them live. The most crucial step is next. You create a small pilot group of users. Let them test everything. You watch the logs like a hawk, you fix what's broken, and only when that pilot group gives you the green light do you start a slow, gradual rollout to everybody else.
Phew. Okay, we have covered a ton of ground here, from the big picture architecture all the way down to the nitty-gritty of troubleshooting. So let's just boil this all down. What are the absolute key things you need to have locked in your brain to walk into that interview with confidence and just crush it?
All right, let's lock these in. 1. Prisma Access is the SASE solution and Panorama is its non-negotiable command center. 2. The golden rule, NAT before security policy, always. 3. App ID is king. It's about identifying the true application, not some random port number. 4. For troubleshooting, know your logs and have that test security policy match command in your back pocket. And 5, when they ask about big projects, talk about the professional migration path, using Expedition and a pilot group. If you can nail these 5 points, you're showing them you really, truly get it.
And there you have it. You've now got the solid, foundational knowledge to not just pass an interview, but to actually be great at a job managing this tech. What we've talked about today is the bedrock of modern, cloud-based security. So the only real question left is, are you ready to build it? Honestly, the best way to make all this stick is to get your hands dirty. Spin up a lab, break some stuff, fix it, and really master these skills. Good luck out there.